Welcome to the Couch Time Podcast, where we give you parents tools to connect with your kids and point them to Jesus. I'm Josh. I have Stephen Petrie with me and Aaron Barnett. And today we're going to be talking about what will make your student happy. The thing that we're about to give you, this nugget of gold, is going to make your student happy.
It's a big statement.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Can't wait.
I hope we deliver. Don't let me down, guys. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
now see how I just put that on you.
Unprepared.
But seriously, so if you think about happiness and really just during this time, actually probably a lot of what parents are dealing with right now is discontentment in their homes. If they have a student, there's probably some level of, I'm bored or COVID stuff. A lot of schools are starting tomorrow. Like there's just all these different things, and it's super weird and it's hard.
Yeah.
So discontentment, happiness, let's discuss that a little bit. So let's talk about what is discontentment. How have you seen that play out? What is it?
I would say discontentment is not being grateful for what you're being given.
Okay, that's good. So there's just like some
simple
element of you have things, but you want something different.
You are not getting what you want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which means what you have
Isn't enough.
isn't enough,
Yeah.
or you don't want it at all.
Got it.
You want something different.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
looking at your own position and wishing for another, or it not either satisfying and you think something else will change that, or you see something else that is in someone else's situation or someone else's position and thinking that's like going to be the game changer for you. And I think it all comes up in a lot of different ways in people's lives, and it's like whatever's like something you're struggling with or something that you value as important, but then don't quite have at the level you wish you had it. You see it in other people that do, and it's like, oh man, I need that, and then you become discontent.
I would say specifically that discontentment is not the same as jealousy or envy. Like discontentment is you've had expectations and what you've been given have failed your expectations. I would say.
That's good. Yeah, I think, and we can be discontent with literally anything, right? In Philippians, Paul talks about being content with whatever he has, and so it's really funny, like there's the verse like I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So many people think that's a sports verse, but it's actually a contentment verse, because the verses before that, it says in verse 12, I know how to make do with a little, and I know how to make do with a lot. In any and all circumstance, I have learned the secret
Of being content.
whether well-fed or hungry, whether abundance in need. I am able to do all things through him who strengthens me. So the key is Jesus. That's the secret. That's the whole piece behind being content by being happy. So guys, I'm curious. So I've got this little booklet here called Discontentment. It's a little biblical counseling booklet that we have by Lou Priolo, and I'll link to it in the show notes.
Show notes. Yes.
Show notes. But one of the things in here, this book does a great job of like kind of helping you understand kind of where you are on the contentment scale. Like, are you like in big trouble, or
Is it a 1 to 10 scale? A 1 to 10 with 8 being the highest
it's
scale?
actually 0 to 4.
Oh my!
0
Are
to
you-
4.
Steven, how
Please-
much
0
do
to
you
4.
love number
Please
scales?
telling me that you're kidding. It's 0 to 4.
Yes, because there's a
Oh my
specific
gosh.
way that they rate it.
Dude,
Anyway,
you are very discontent with that scale right now.
For sure. No, I've never heard of a 0 to 4 level rating. Lily Giglio needs to work on his book.
it's not. It's Lou Priolo.
All right, sorry, continue.
So in it, they make a couple statements. Contentment is realizing that God has already provided everything that a person needs to glorify and enjoy him. Contentment is realizing that true satisfaction can come this is the key, can come only from building one's life around those things that cannot be taken away or destroyed, which is Jesus.
Yeah, I would just say I think that statement's super interesting because a lot of times I've heard people say different phrases like maybe they're struggling to figure out how they're going to handle something financially, and they say, well, God will provide.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, but that doesn't mean you're going to have the money you need to do that thing.
Right.
Because there's people that are starving out in the world. So
Yeah.
by you saying that, it makes it sound like you're saying that God's not then providing for those people that are dying from hunger. But yet, based on that statement, it's like, no. The people that are in those situations still have the ability to be provided for, to be content, to be satisfied, based upon Christ's, not Christ, that's a funny word, Christ's ability to be their satisfaction and be their provision. Not that God is, you can just throw out a word like God will provide, and now like I will be able to eat, or I will be able to have food, or my kids will have a good school system. It's like, no, he may not provide that.
Right.
But there's still this ability to be satisfied and be provided for in this idea of contentment.
Yes.
That is just very interesting to me.
Yeah. And so like, let's talk about this for just a couple minutes. So if Jesus is the thing, if God, if building your life around who Jesus is, what he's called us to, enjoying him, trying to like make him known, like, how maybe just talk for a minute. How have you guys seen that? Even before in Philippians 3, it talks about like how I've counted everything as rubbish for the sake of knowing Christ. Has Christ been worth it? I think that's the ultimate question that this comes down to: is Christ worth it? Can you guys think of a scenario where like you've like thought like, you know what, Jesus has been worth it? Yeah, go for it.
Confession of sin, and loving my wife are two that come to mind, because as far as most often, those are the ones that are coming to mind. And what I mean with is Christ worth it is when I choose in the moment to love my wife, for example, and there's lots of other, I mean, shoot, you guys, like if I choose to love you guys when I don't feel like it, it's like, oh, I don't want to, I'm really annoyed right now, or whatever it is, but then the joy comes later, and the payoff comes later than in the moment. And it's the same thing with confessing. Like, I don't ever want to confess my sin. It always sucks. Like, it's not... But, oh my word, the truths and promises that we have for when we do confess, and the joy that we'll get, and the peace that we get, and the renewal that we get. I mean, I've fallen on my knees, before, just out of gratitude to the Lord in some of the lowest periods of my life, or even just short little seasons where it's like I'm struggling with sin. When I am confessing to God and then to other people when needed, it's like there is so much joy that it's like, oh my gosh, the consequences are absolutely worth the joy that I have in knowing God and being right before Him.
Yeah, that's good.
I would say when I've tried and failed to succeed at something, and like either am frustrated with myself or feel like a failure or feel like people think lower of me, it's like that is when Christ has been like my sense of encouragement, my sense of joy, my sense of like, okay, like that's okay. Like there's greater things for me, as well as where was the other? Oh man, I just had something.
Oh wait, I'm good at this game.
No, you're not.
No, you're just making me space out. But yeah, when I've been I know, when I've been exhausted from either pouring into people or like spending time with people, or had hard conversations that I don't know answers to, and then I've seen Christ like work in someone's life or like change something in them, it's been like, oh my gosh, like all this is worth it.
Yeah.
Like Christ is providing. Like anything that I've gone through is like Christ has been worth it because I've got to see him work in someone.
Yeah. Another thing real quick, just like kind of what you were saying before, Stephen. If I'm really, really hungry and I'm going to hang out with some friends and I don't know the restaurant that they're taking me to, but I'm really hungry and in my head I've got this like, this meal that I'm hoping it's pizza, or I'm hoping it's chicken, or I'm hoping it's steak, like whatever it is, and then whatever restaurant they pick doesn't fit that whatever expectations I had, whether it's subconscious or conscious. I mean, is Christ worth it? Comes down to, for me personally, this is just a silly example of what is more important here, and reminding myself of what is most important. And this is about the people that I'm with.
Right.
And then I remember the truth, and that opens the door to all of these other things being true about like, oh, you know what? This food is good. Sure, it's not what I wanted, but all of a sudden I'm able to enjoy what I do have more when I focus on what is most important. And in many situations, trusting Christ and Christ being worth it is remembering what he said about whatever situation that is. And when you choose to focus on that, other things kind of fall into line.
Yeah.
Which I think is where the happiness portion comes in, because our happiness is so contingent for a lot of people on circumstances and if they get what they want. And it's like, that's not what it's about at all.
I think what's interesting about your example, what we're not saying is that the goal is to never be disappointed or to stuff your disappointment.
Yeah, don't brush it under the rug.
That's not the thing. If you stew on disappointment, it can lead to discontentment. What you're saying is, in that moment, you have the choice to, all right, here's what Jesus has given me. Here's thinking about the ways he's provided, what he's providing, how you can enjoy what he's given you. That's a very different situation, and I legitimately think like that's what produces like joy and happiness is the source of joy and happiness, thinking about him and not putting our hope on all these things that are going to disappoint.
Which I think that's the answer to your question, is Christ worth it? It's like, is Jesus worth it? It's like, yeah, because everything he says is true. Like, I am happier than some of my neighbors who have a lot more than I do. Actually, they have a lot of things that I wish I had too, but I'm more happy than they are. But it's not because of the stuff.
Yeah.
It's because of obeying Jesus.
Yeah.
So is Jesus worth it? It's like, well, I'm happier than you are,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's helpful when you see, let's say you're discontent with your financial situation and you see someone in a better financial situation than you, and you're discontent because you don't have it. And then you find out from them that they're discontent because they don't have kids, and they see someone else that does have kids, and that person's discontent because they have to work 80 hours a week, and then that person's discontent. So then you start going down the line. It's like, okay, all
Everybody's
those things that I'm discontent about, someone else has and is discontent with that.
And they're having to pay in some other way.
And so it's like when you begin to wrap your head around that truth, that it's like, regardless of these situations, all of these things will just show up in discontentment in some other place. Because the lie is that is the thing that will provide contentment. And especially in students' lives too, it's like whether they see a kid that appears to have more friends and they're discontent because they feel lonely, or they wish that they had the athletic ability of this other kid and they're discontent because they can't perform on the field as well as them. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I guess the struggle is to help them see really and fully believe that thing will not provide contentment.
Exactly.
And it's funny when you start to talk about it, it's like they know that about everyone. They like when they think about it, honestly, they know that everyone is still struggling with this idea of contentment, but then that lie keeps telling them, no, it has to be that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like, no, that's when you realize that, okay, these things don't provide contentment. Where can I go for satisfaction and fulfillment and contentment and joy and peace? And that's what it's like, yeah, we say it a lot, but it's like, no, like Christ really is that only thing that will provide that for you, because it's the only thing that doesn't change. It's the only thing that has eternal purposes. It's the only thing that has relevant, like eternal next step, like walking in light joy that can't be found in worldly things.
And I think when we follow Jesus half-heartedly, that's where it's easiest to be most discontent, because you're not giving him your all, and you're not fully believing that.
Yeah.
And so to wrap up here, at the end of this booklet, it gives some suggestions for developing contentment. So even just that line, developing contentment, it's almost like we're not good at it. And yeah, it's a process, and we need to.
It's a choice.
It's a muscle to develop. So let's just briefly talk about 3 of these. So I'll change some of the wording here, but like be sure you truly understand like where you're being where you're coveting, where you're being discontent. How can a parent maybe help their students see that? How can a parent help coach that?
I mean, I would say that coveting really, parents, it's just like coveting something is wanting something you don't have. And I would attach it to what I said, what we talked about before, which is especially something that you were hoping you were going to get.
Expectations.
And for students right now, obviously 2020 has happened, and it's like you don't have school, we didn't have summer camps, so you didn't get to have graduation parties, you didn't get to hang out with friends, birthday parties look different. I mean, there's so many things that we have come to expect, and students have come to expect for the summer and for the school year that are not happening. And so I think calling those out and talking about them, as far as like, it's a bummer, it's a bummer, but then acknowledging what it is that students aren't getting that they want, I think is the first step of the process.
Articulating it, but also not like just stuffing it.
Don't just like suck it up, get over it. It's like, no, let's acknowledge it, which actually comes back to that grieving process, which you might need to do. There's some really big things that students have not gotten that that they've been expecting.
Yeah, I think if you know your kid and you know what they like, you know what they enjoy, you know what they pursue most probably also brings a lot of discontentment, because like that's where they're investing all their time in achieving. And even if they're really, really good at it, that's what they're constantly thinking about. So there's also going to be things within that they're discontent with. And so I think, just think about your student. What do they love to do? What do they pursue so hard? Those things I feel like are what are going to be most commonly like their source of discontentment. And just talking about, it's great to love that. It's great to be good at that. It's great to be amazing at it and work hard. But asking them like, where do you struggle? Where does that leave you still void? Where does that lead? Where does like that not fulfill all the way? And acknowledging like even that thing that I enjoy so much or try to achieve so much is still leaving like a sense of discontentment.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So then I'm going to pick another one here. Train yourself to thank and praise the Lord when you're first tempted to murmur or complain. I don't know. What's a way that like
students
parents
never murmur.
Tattoos.
Right.
Get a tattoo that tells you. Tell your kids to get a tattoo that says, "Appreciate the Lord." You'll never forget.
There you go. That just do that. It's fine. So for those who like have a problem with tattoos or needles, what are some other ways that we can just even develop a culture of gratitude in your home?
I mean, Colossians comes to mind, where thankfulness is repeated, multiple times in regards to, and in the context of keeping our gaze fixed on eternity, not on the present. I think thankfulness is not even just in the book of Colossians, is commanded so many times because it enables us to fight discontentment. It enables us to keep our focus and our faith where it should be. And thankfulness is just a choice. It's a matter of you can be thankful or you can be unthankful, and it's all a matter of finding what it is to be thankful for. Naturally, in our flesh, students are going to be unthankful because they'll focus on what it's like. I don't like this, or I wish I had this. It's like, okay, well, at any given moment, you have something to be thankful for. It's just a habitual process of choosing to focus on that.
Totally,
That
yeah.
will help you be thankful. So I would encourage parents to, I mean, maybe at the dinner table, like start something like, hey, what's something you're thankful for today?
It's great.
Like that's a
perfect.
practical little, what's something
It's
you're
a
thankful
rhythm,
for?
yeah.
And I mean, start easy. So it's like if they say I'm thankful for dinner, it's like, great. That's
Start
all
there.
kidding aside. That's something to be thankful for. Many people don't have it. Great.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll progress into, it's like, I'm thankful for this specific friend because they encouraged me this day. Or, I mean,
Yeah, that's
but
good.
start the process of being thankful every day.
Yeah.
Quick thing I'd say is become more others and serve. Find opportunities to serve. Ask your kids more about how they're serving or how they can be outside focused. I think lack of thankfulness often comes when you're in your own head
Yes.
a lot and you think about all your own problems and all your own struggles, and they become bigger than they are, and then you become not thankful for them. But I think the more that you serve and are loving and outpouring and giving, the more like appreciative you are just for the things that you have and receive.
That's great. The last one I just want to read, and then we'll kind of leave everybody with this. But make good interpretations of God's dealings with you. I mean, I think even just back at the garden, right? Did God really say this? I just always imagine what was going through Eve's head when she was like, "Wait, I'm not gonna die right away." Like it can just go. You can start questioning: is God good? Is He really? Is He? All those different things. As soon as you doubt God's character, you're gonna question how He deals with you. And so, really, the best way to do that is just to be reading the Word and just like
You have to be.
filtering.
If you're not in the Word, then it's
Yes.
like you cannot do it.
Yeah, you will be so messed up. So there's actually multiple things in this booklet. We only hit on 3 briefly, but this book, Discontentment by Lou Priolo, not Louis Giglio, really, really good. I'll link to it in the show notes. So to wrap it up, the answer to make students happy is Jesus. Like that is the answer, and to go wholeheartedly after Him. So thanks guys for talking. We'll talk again next week.
Sweet.